Hey everybody, today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to watch some solo queue. So I decided to pull up the number one solo queue player in the game, Melon. He's been rank 1 zones a bunch of times. He's the only player to reach 5k XP. He's just the best shooter player in the game overall and has been dominant since Splatoon 2. So I kind of wanted to just see what he's doing differently than everyone else and how he's able to win so consistently. To get 5k XP, you really have to have an insanely high win rate. You can't really afford to lose series. If you do lose a series, you lose like 200, 300, maybe even 400 points. You're going to notice that Melon is playing Forge. This is a newer pick. Pro has gotten a lot of buffs recently. Booyah has gotten some buffs. And Forge is just really, really good and pretty favored in Japan right now. You're going to see this gun is just an absolute beam, outranges most guns in the meta, and paints quite well. He's also using LDE, so he has a lot of paint on the map. He has swim speed, he has intensify action for accuracy, stealth jump, all the normal util stuff. I'll put his build on the screen, but it's pretty standard. It's the same thing Chocopero and like Raymaru are using. Pretty much all the top long range shooter guys, like some splash players, some squeezer players. It's pretty much taken over the role of both of those guns at the moment in the meta, at least in solo queue from what I've noticed. Some things to note about Melon that I have noticed previously from watching his gameplay is that he is, one, an excellent fighter. He just has great aim, great positioning. He's pretty much identified as the smartest player in Japan by a lot of players I've noticed. And he's just so secure. He's just so good at cleaning up kills, so good at winning his fights, just constantly making the right play. And you can just see just somehow maneuvers his way out of this situation by using the cover on the block and avoiding the guy on the bottom side. And then stays here so he can shoot these guys in the back because he knows they have to paint the zone. It's just really excellent, intelligent play. And he's just cleaning up kills everywhere. He's really hard to take out. Anyone that fights him has to fight a pro at mid-range, the best range for. He's always taking fights in his optimal range. Even fighting back this pen. Constantly living, even in this 1v3, actually ends up killing two because he knows the pen can't push and just beams them in the corner as they're pushing him. Definitely a misplay by the opponents, but like you can just see how good he is at using cover to win some of these fights. This is also a big moment because you're going to notice he actually very rarely pushes into spawn. Maybe if he's hard winning the game, but he actually decides to shark there on the ramp, just try to clean up a kill, beam someone in the front as they're not looking. He's going to shark in a lot of those moments. Sees this guy sharking, kills him instantly. Gets some help from his teammate, but he really hasn't lost a single 1v1. Waiting for that guy to come out of the corner was only the pencil, but you know, you can just tell he's a very safe player. And he will not be pushing this. He's going to do the same play. Yep, sharking on the ramp. Gets hit once, immediately backs up. Nearly dies, actually, the bucket, very close, but only jumps to go into their base right now. Luckily lives, but you know, this only when he is hard winning does he ever go into the enemy spawn, I notice. He's playing the time. He knows basically as long as he doesn't die instantly, there's no chance, and that's just a really nice game. Super clean, tons of kills, living in so many difficult situations. Definitely a lot to learn from Melon. You can hear him drinking soup and he goes 20-4. Yeah, really nice game. So this is a game from a different rotation. playing museum. He has, I mean, there's no backline in this game, so he actually outranges everyone more or less. Obviously, he's the same range as the 2 enemy forges, which is not very common. But just painting and chilling in the plot at the beginning here, cleaning up kills. Very much a cleanup player. And that's Jakashi on the enemy team. That's the #1 tent in the world. Barely avoids Azuka. He really just waits for players to make a mistake and then punishes them. You're going to notice he's not going to push this plat. He's just going to sit down here, clean up. Bring his Booyah to pressure the top side. Ends up killing the tent. That's really nice.
Wow.
Uses the bubble to the best of his ability. And just ends up cleaning up everybody here. Yeah. Just super nice play. And then he's just going to do it again. He's just going to keep rotating from side to side, cleaning up anyone that drops in mid. And punishing any bad positioning. So this crowd looks pretty far forward, right? He's just going to come up and punish it.
チャージャーも楽しいプラスで勝てだからだし。
10 in the bottom side, gonna booyah that. Another kill. Takes some damage, so he's not gonna re-challenge that until he's healed up. Waits for a drop, punishes it. Punishes the guy sitting on the ledge. Now he's gonna rotate over to the left, kill the tent. He's just rotating over and over. Always punishing the enemy for making a bad play, and then the game is just over. Really interesting stuff, because I think he plays it a lot differently than a lot of players will play it comp. You know, trying to push in the enemy spawn, trying to push the line, essentially. But in SoloQ, he's just all about cleaning up the middle and not allowing the enemy team to actually have a chance to cap the zone or take control of the game in any way. So this is going to be the third and last game that I'm going to review in this video. He has Cooler on his team, so he has a decent advantage there. There's a Tri-Slasher, but it's another no backline game. You know, pretty standard in SoloQ. Throws a bomb and just waits. He's really not trying to force anything. You know, as soon as he sees a player peek on the ramp, he's trying to shoot him and punish him. Really nice follow-up shot. Wow. Goes in at the perfect timing, and even though he dies, he does a lot of damage and forces the enemies in such a bad position that it's totally fine, even highly favorable. And even though he has a teammate in the top left, he doesn't actually try to push. Wow, nice beam on the jetpack. Not trying to force this, not pushing, not risking his life in any situation where he doesn't feel confident. Decides not to jump to the splash. He knows this push is over. He can just reset on the right, paint up. He's shooting the ground, checking for any sharks. Almost dies to the S-Blast, but he's really at a pretty significant distance the whole time. He's never putting himself in any danger. S-Blast would have had to hit some ridiculous shots. He's the last one alive here. So he's actually just going to decide not even to push that guy, not to trade his life, and just, you know, admit defeat in that battle, right? There's still a whole war going on. He still has an entire push that he can get his booyah. They have Cooler, so they have a pretty decent chance. And he can actually just booyah the jetpack landing for a guaranteed kill. Always going for the guaranteed play, or the high likelihood play. Spaces really nicely from the S-Blast, but that gun has too many options, too much range, and ends up killing him. Not really able to space that much. Sees this guy trying to jump across, instantly punishes him. And now the enemy's 3 down. There's not that much of a penalty. I highly doubt he pushes into this again. Yeah, kind of just pressuring it, and then goes back to rotate and watch the flanks. Kills the S-Bus, and now that they wipe, now he will actually sit in there, spawn, paint up, and try to hold the line. And when you talk about, when I talk about holding the line, I mean, in this game there's a very literal line where your paint meets their paint, and moving it forward, you know, is obviously beneficial to the game. Really avoids the crab 80. I think there are more complicated versions of that with, you know, player positioning and whatnot, but I think the paint aspect, wow, really nice playing this flank, playing this side, and then ends up just hard punishing and capping the zone by the time it rotates over. But yeah, there's a lot of positioning involved in the line, and it's not really like a blatant term, but I think it's something that Japan uses a lot. The Western scene doesn't really talk about very often, except maybe a few top players. And it's really important. You want to move it, but you want to move it safely. If you die for it, it's not worth it, especially in a SoloQ environment. And now Melon just has LDE bombs. It's gonna be really hard for the enemies to rotate in. Ends up dying, but I don't think they can cap. They don't have enough paint. Yeah. Beautiful rotations that game. Always catching people off guard and very much holding the zone for a long period of that game. He never really left the area of the zone. He never went onto the enemy spinner or museum. He only, once they wiped, went into their base on Bluefin, and on Haggle only went into their base as they were basically losing the game and had no time and had no ability to go for a flank. So it's not really even about killing everybody and just dominating the game through that. It's about just holding the space and punishing the enemies for mistakes. And it's SoloQ. There are a lot of mistakes that happen. So he's just guaranteeing wins off those mistakes, essentially. So yeah, if you're interested in more SoloQ analysis videos, just let me know in the comments. I'm happy to do more with different players and different weapons and everything, even different modes. So just let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.